given point in time and give y'all a sense of direction on what you're doing footwork-wise. Hope that makes sense. If you're looking for how you should be standing and how you should be moving your feet, I'd recommend probably signing up for a footwork class. Okay? Just setting expectations. Beautiful. So, what is the purpose of footwork? You don't have to answer, it's perfectly fine. It's to optimize our defense and our offense, right? As we're maintaining range. So we're gonna cover the nitty gritty of that here in a second. If I were fighting Raph, footwork here, cool. Our goal is to make our job get to here, right? From here, I don't have to worry about defense, right? My offense, I don't have to be good at swinging a sword when I'm in this position. So if with our feet we can get ourselves in a position like so, we're cooking, right? So obviously they're going to be resisting, so it's not going to be that easy, but the closer we get to that position, the better. We're going to skip fundamentals. All right, so I'm just going to touch on some of the concepts from foundations just so we can recall that information. So we want our feet low to the ground, almost like we're sliding. Right? The longer our feet are off the ground, the more time we don't have to move again. So if, for example, I were stepping on Raph has the opportunity to change direction on me as this is off the ground. If, for example, I were to take a similar step towards Raph that stays lower to the ground, go back to where you were. Raph starts changing direction as I'm moving. I still have the ability to push off again because my feet stayed low. See, we want the weight on the balls of our feet. We don't want to be flat-footed. Ideally, we don't want our feet to be wider than our shoulders, right? All this was covered during foundations, but if we're doing this, not only do we have to recollect, right? We have to shift our weight to one leg, we remember, right? To be able to bring our feet back together or to take another step. But another note is that our height changes. So currently, Raph and I are roughly the same height. Now all of a sudden, if I end up, right? If I end up taking a really wide stance to try and get something, I end up exposing my upper quadrants here, right? So these height disparities that don't normally exist end up opening up because we're getting wide stances. So avoid them unless you're doing it for a purpose. Let's see. So what does that mean? So if I'm trying to get around someone, our goal isn't to, if we're trying to incorporate our lateral movement, our goal isn't to take these wide lateral steps. Our goal is going to be to take multiple small steps, right? 1, 2. Right? 1, 2. Keeping our feet, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but my feet are almost dragging on the floor here. Awesome. So that's going to be the things that we're covering on basics. Does anyone feel lost at this current point in time? No? Fantastic. Beautiful. I love it. So real quick, before we keep going, there's one thing I want to cover, and that's ranges, right? When we're talking about footwork, we're talking about not only how we move our feet, but also how we are in relation to our opponent. So real quick, to define those ranges, we're going to come over here. I hope y'all can pick this up from where you are. You're going to be on the blue. So how I define ranges real quick are going to be this first position is going to be me being able to touch my opponent with my hand, right? You over it. Yeah. Awesome. So with my actual hand, not with a sword in it, I can touch him. I'm in close range. Anything closer than this, I'm still in close range. If I'm still around him, doesn't matter, I'm still in close range, right? Now, make it a sword. Oh no. So, now notice, we move a little bit further back. I would like to define medium range is where we're at now, where you're not fully extending your arm, right? But I could still, with a little bit of a half cock, still touch Raph comfortably. Roughly, if I were fully extended, I'd measure it roughly, let's see, about a quarter-ish, maybe a fifth of the way down the top of the sword. So I still have grace here, right? Then we have long range. Notice this one's a little bit further away, right? I definitely can't hit Raph. Why do you think that is?
As in, why are you in that range, or why can't you hit him?
So why is long range so far away I can't hit him?
You could step and hit him.
Yes, footwork, right? Long range traditionally is taught as, go ahead and get your arm up. So if we're fighting, right, at the range where I could just barely hit him in the arm. However, we also want to acknowledge the fact that people can still move their feet, right? So I have it measured at a little bit before that, right? I'd like to think of it as about a step, maybe a half step away from there, because from here, just as quickly, not only can I throw this shot, but accompanied with a step, I can very easily hit it, right? these are the ranges that we're defining real quick before we keep going. Now we have directions. So that's it for now with this. We'll be back. So directions, we have forward, right? Let me get my phone out. Forward, right? Forward movements are quick, they're linear, they're great at closing distance fast, but are easy to exploit. Next we have forward and towards the right, right? Kind of at this 45-degree angle. Closing, when you take a step this way, actually, I'll stand here. So when I take a step forward, I close distance on an opponent who's here very quickly, right? If I take the same exact step forward and towards the right, you'll note that I close less distance than if I was taking a step directly forward, but I'm generating a lot of angle here. Actually, we'll go back to that. So if Raph here is on the blue, let's say we're at medium range, right? Stepping forward gets me into close range. However, if I take a step sideways, I haven't actually cleared close range yet. So, however, I do have a lot of influence on this side, a lot of pressure, right? Straight sideways. Depending on the range, this does a lot more than you think. Currently, I have these cones set up. Obviously, this is straight to Raph. This line here is at a 45-degree angle. This line here is at a 90, okay? I'm gonna try and keep my steps as equidistant as possible so y'all can see this. So, if I take a step forward from long range, I end up in medium range, very clearly. Now, if I go sideways, right, this straight to the side, angle-wise, if you notice, I haven't cleared 45, right? In fact, I've maybe cleared 20, right? Back and towards the right is another option. This makes less angle, but generates a decent amount of distance. Really efficient in sword and board. Straight back obviously creates even more distance. Now we're out of range, right? Or now even 2 steps was barely getting us in range. Yeah, right, so here we're safe. And then everything mirrors, right? So back and towards the left, 20 degrees, straight sideways. Or, sorry, 10-ish degrees, 20 degrees, 30-ish degrees, close distance. Now note, that's everything at long range. Once we get to medium range, everything changes, right? Note, I take this step. I've closed a decent amount of distance here and I've generated a lot of angle. This same step at long range, that'd be what? 20-something degrees, but at medium range, this same step gets me 45, right? If I do the same exact step at close range, 90, right? The range that we're starting our steps in matters, okay? Straight towards the side from medium range gets us that 45. Straight towards the side from close range. Obviously, you can get it closer than this, but we're going past 45 degrees. We're going up to like 50, 55. And we're getting a lot of influence here. If we have a shield in this situation, I'm not going to pull it out yet, but these are how we're going to be able to get board side shoulders or fakes into other stuff. So, perfect. Thank you. So, going straight towards the right doesn't close as much distance. In fact, it doesn't close any distance towards our opponent. And it actually makes a little bit of distance from our opponent. So, if Raph were charging me, right, footwork-wise, what do you think I should be doing here to make space?
Back up.
Back up, right. I mean, intuitively, that's what we all think, right? So I go straight back. What's Raph gonna do?
Keep going forward.
Step to the side.
Right. This is, for him to take another step takes nothing, right? Back up. So if I'm here, what's another option we can do?
Circle.
Back up at an angle.
Go horizontally at an angle. Yeah.
Horizontally at an angle. Which one? So we have forward towards the right.
Probably away from the sword.
Forward. Huh?
Probably to your right to get away from the sword.
To the right.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer, right? We're thinking about this like a bullfighter fighting a bull, right? Someone's charging in straight on you. What you want to go is sideways. If you note, Raph has to stop his momentum and reestablish his balance to be able to turn and face me. Right? In this instance, I have option to be able to abuse this shoulder or reposition again. Right? Sometimes people think the correct answer is back and towards the right. And that is the case if he's not full sending it, right? If his goal isn't to get to close range, this is 100% a good answer. However, when he's full sending it, a slight pivot is easy for him to adjust to, right? So the straight towards the side is extremely powerful. All right, a couple things, back and towards the left. Now, if we're fighting with gear,
Your shield is there.
for the most part, the rest of this class is going to stay on sword and board. Let me get it ready, actually. Just because back and towards the left is going to mess it up. All right, so if I'm here, and I'm maintaining roughly the edge of this long range, maybe medium range, back and towards the left, in my opinion, is a way to bait someone, to convince someone to come in. What am I doing when I'm doing this? I am, let's go at a 45-degree angle. Awesome. So if you note, as I'm doing this from Raph's perspective, I'm probably closed off right now. When I take this step, yeah, everything kind of opens up, but I've made distance, which gets me time. So now, by doing this, I'm baiting my opponent, inviting them, oh, okay, feel free to take something, but I don't have to leave my arm out or leave my shield low. Naturally, just by positioning myself a little off center, now I've invited him to throw something and get him out of position, right? So cool, he throws, all of a sudden, I take a side step and he's dead, right? Super powerful, but understand that for the most part, this step is dangerous even for you. You have to do it with a purpose and prepare to step again, right? It's not a step you're doing by itself. It does change a little bit when we talk about fighting a lefty, but we're gonna get there a little bit later. All right, so when should we step? When we're fighting, how often should we be moving our feet?
Almost always.
Almost always, right? But when is almost always, right? Are we just gonna tire ourselves out?
Whenever you throw a shot.
When they're in range.
Yeah, stimulation, absolutely anything. When we don't know what we're doing with our feet, our first goal is to just get in the habit of moving. I know it's gonna be exhausting at first for a little bit, but our goal is just make it happen. If I throw a shot, I wanna be moving my feet. If Raph throws a shot, I wanna move my feet. If Raph fakes a shot, I wanna move my feet. If he takes a step, I wanna move my feet, right? Now these are a lot of different things to consider, but eventually what we're gonna find out, especially experimenting with all these different angles that we have at our disposal, is that eventually we're gonna figure out what steps are the right ones, what steps are the wrong ones, and at what ranges, right? We also want to step when our opponent is flat-footed, ideally, right? If we can catch them off guard while they're on the back leg, then absolutely we get to move on them for free. And when they're closing is a great opportunity, right? They're committed, as we talked about before, I can't change direction while my foot's off the ground. More often than not, people are moving by raising their leg, right? Lifting their knee and telegraphing that they're taking a step. And those are opportunities that, because they can't change direction, we get to do so. That's going to cover into a little bit more of a complex topic here in a second, but what is that topic? It's counterstepping. So this is some terminology that's kind of talked about a little bit amongst the high levels. So our goal is to be stepping at an off tempo alongside our opponent to gain distance or deny angles. So just like we talked about before when we're talking about moving sideways on an opponent who's engaging on us really hard, we also want to, that's not the only angle that we can change in regards to other distances. So if I'm fighting Raph, if he takes a step towards me, my concepts are, do I want to be aggressive? Do I want to be defensive? Do I want to be passive, right? We almost never want to be passive. We always want to change something. These are all variables that force our opponent into an uncomfortable situation where maybe they hesitate because they don't know how to commit anymore, or the shot that they were planning on doing got closed off. So as he steps, right, go ahead and step improperly for now. Yeah, while that foot's off the ground, he can't change directions. What am I gonna do? He's planning on throwing over here. Awesome. I step sideways, I killed him. Right? What's another option? Well, if I want to be less aggressive, maybe I can't tell what he's about to do. Like he's just doing something wacky. I can't read it. What am I gonna do to move safely? I'm gonna go back and towards the right. I'm holding a shield here, angle-wise, I'm denying quite a bit. So go ahead and put your sword on my hip. So right here, right, his sword's currently touching me. If I move back and towards the right, notice I don't have to use my sword anymore to block this, right? In the traditional sense, when I don't move my feet, okay, I caught the block, but now what? If I move, I'm dead. He just follows up. Right? So instead, I lateral. Boom. I freed up a shot with my hand. I get to throw a shot, and I don't have to compromise my defense. More often than not, either people block with their hand or they push their shield down, which you want to avoid doing. If we do something like this, and this is false, yeah, exactly, or he combos off of it, I'm dead. Right? Sorry, I'm trying to follow my notes best I can. We talked about defensive. All right, so here's an interesting concept. So the person who moves first has what I like to call the initiative. Who here has played D&D? Right? Awesome. So when you have the initiative, right, a sneak attack, the person who steps first gets the first action, right? Like, you get to dictate how the fight goes. However, the second person has priority. Now, this lingo I take from Magic the Gathering, where if someone casts a spell, right, you have an opportunity to do something about it, right? You have priority. So you should use that priority to change the angle. Sun Tzu, right, teaches that never fight on the battlefield of your opponent's choosing. Well, your opponent is saying, when they're taking a step to throw a shot, this is the angle I want to, this is the range I want to be at, this is the angle I want to be at, I'm going to land this. So you're like, okay, cool. Well, if I change to go ahead and step and throw a shot. Okay, so he steps and throws a shot. Now, as he's stepping and throwing the shot, he's already predetermined, he's going to throw this shot, he's going to be there when he lands. Okay, well, I have options, right? Maybe, no, I want to be closer, right? It ends up catching the block, right? I can kill him. Maybe I'm like, okay, well, that's so aggressive, I'm not ready for it. Back up, right? It's gonna miss. Maybe I like fighting at this range. However, I don't need to be here, right? I can just go straight sideways. Right? All of a sudden, that angle, that depth that he has, he doesn't have it anymore. Just like we talked about earlier, this step makes a lot of angle change, but actually technically makes a pinch of distance, which can be the matter of getting hit, not getting hit. Is there anything?
So, like what Ender was saying about the counter stepping and the plan, right? Like, anytime someone takes an action against you, you should assume they have a plan, right? Otherwise, why are they doing something? Like, if they're just going to stay back, they probably don't have a plan. If they're going to step and now start an engagement, they probably have some idea of what they want to do.
Yeah. They have a level of expectation of something that they're going to do.
And so the counter step is your opportunity to cancel their plan, right? Like, they say, like, I would like to take this action against you. And you can say, actually, I'm not going to allow that, right? And that's why there's so much value in the counter stepping. And then, as Ender said, knowing what options you have from those specific counter steps and what that creates in your fight.
All right, so flat-footed, right? I'm sure this is a term that people hear often. This is a great instance for someone for you to fake someone or to reposition. Now, some people think it's just something that happens, but it can be caused, which is fantastic. And our goal is, if we can make it happen as often as possible, because that means that they're not ready. So what are some tools that we have at our disposal to make them flat-footed? Well, depending on the type of fighter there are, there's a couple tools. So if someone's inherently defensive, something that we can do is what's called a rocker step. I'm not sure if y'all have seen like Delos' videos, but he's got good content, and rocker step is actually extremely powerful. I believe it comes from basketball and a way to control a defender, but what you do is you get them, you almost do a stomp at them, right? Put a little pressure behind it. Your goal isn't to take a full step, it's almost about a half or a quarter measure, but it gets them like, oh wait, you didn't take as deep of a step as I thought you would. And it gets them like, oh, what's actually happening? And that second where they're confused and trying to figure out what happened, that's exactly when you want to move again. So you rocker step, their weight's on their back leg, and that's when you get to push off again. Another thing that you can do is fake. So if we're talking about an opponent who's potentially moving for their footwork to defend, we can use fakes to make them flat-footed again. So, Yeah, so maybe what I'll do is I will, maybe someone has their shield a little low, so I pump fake, like they're about to get hit in the shoulder, yeah. They start leaning back, or you know, they're like, okay, I gotta soak this. All of a sudden you can take that side step again. Changing angles drastically, so like we talked about before, if Raph was coming in straight on me, if I take a side step, that gets him flat-footed because he has to make that turn, right, at that close range. All right, so now we're talking about lefty versus righty footwork. You want to do this? Or? Okay. So footwork-wise, like fighting against or being a lefty, what are some angles that we don't like? So we're going to use this again. So if we notice, I'm going to fight at a sword foot forward stance here. My goal, just a quick little TLDR on lefty, my goal is to have the middle of my shield pointed at my opponent's sword hand as often as possible, right? Now I'm in a proper defense. This hip is extremely close to him, and we all know that this is a target that we want, right? So sure, maybe this stance isn't the best, but maybe we like it and we can make it work. So what we want to avoid is this forward and towards the right. Naturally, when we take this step, we're bringing our opponent's preferred location closer to them, making it really easy. Especially if they're looking at our footwork, they're timing our step. I take my step, I'm already getting blasted before I hit the floor again, right? So this is extremely dangerous. If you're gonna do it, prepare to shove your shield down and hope that they don't go for your shoulder after. Personally, what I find extremely effective is a lateral straight towards the side. So if you notice, go ahead and throw, right? So our opponent was committed, right? If I didn't move at all, I'm getting smoked right now. This is all hip. Without having to move my shield or my sword, right? Again, I'm freeing up an action with my sword. I catch his hand out of position. This is really easy for me to exploit. The key detail here is I don't want to turn to face my opponent, right? If I do something like this, what did I end up doing? I just brought my hip closer. Right? This is, again, easy to exploit. So really, it doesn't matter the range, right? Even if I'm here, doing this just helps me even more, right? The closer I am to his attacking surface, the easier that it is, the more effective it makes this. What I don't want to do, back and towards the left, right? This is a really bad step unless you're trying to set him up, right? Straight towards the left, right? Again, we're making free angles for him. Or if he fakes and instead of moving my feet, I reposition, I just open something else up again, right? So footwork wise, I highly recommend moving straight towards the side, towards your right if you're the righty, towards your left if you're the lefty, or back and towards the right, back and towards the left for him. Any details outside of that? That's good. No? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as a lefty, I think I almost never step shield side.
Yeah, I mean, you agree that you're just putting yourself in a bad position. You gave them the kill to begin with, for the most part. Awesome. I think we're pretty good with that. All right. Footwork for fakes, feints, and baits. This is an interesting concept. So we have the ability to fake people using our feet, right? To begin with, if I'm gonna fight someone, my goal when I'm lining up with them to begin with is to start a pinch off center, depending on what I'm trying to do. If I'm lined up with Raph right now, obviously he's a lefty. My goal is to favor the side that I want to be on. So I like to think of position. Can I get another sword? All right, so right now, I like to think of it like this. So our feet are currently aligned, right? My goal is from at least one of my feet so my left foot to align with his left foot, or my right foot to align with his right foot. That's the ideal. We don't need to be that drastic, but to start, it's a great position. So right here, again, bad if I'm fighting a lefty. I have a lot of pressure on this sword side. I bait this hip. If I'm lined up against Raph and now I'm on this position, he has to dig even deeper to try and get an angle to try and hit me if I'm holding my shield, right? He has to reclaim this position. I like to call this foot dominance, okay? It's a term that comes from boxing, by the way. It sets up attack angles for you. Now, by doing that, right, especially if you're fighting a fighter that understands at least where they're feeling threatened. Just me standing here on this advanced position gets him worried. Look at him, he's already turning, right? Like he's just like, oh shit, I'm gonna get smoked. And then conveniently he's gonna open up this shoulder, right? He feels uncomfortable. It's gonna happen. Now, we can break this down even simpler if we go to single sword. So an interesting thing, faking with our feet, right? Same exact concept. I'm gonna take a half step towards the side and maybe add a little bit of body pressure. Now check this out. So if I step something like this, yeah. Notice I didn't do anything crazy. Maybe I rattled my sword at him, but his sword came way off to the side, right? He's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get smoked, and now I have inside control, right? I faked him just by getting in a proper position where he has to react, right? Metaphorically, we put him in check by our position. Position over submission. That's our goal.
And the distinction there is like just like other feints, that if the step that was demonstrated is accompanied with the movement that the rest of the body normally does, that creates that threat at an angle where the defender has to react to that, right? And so what you're doing is isolating a portion of the footwork from the rest of the full body movement. Instead of a deep step that comes into this outside strike, you're doing the deep step as a feint and not adding on the rest of that, right?
Yeah. In regards to baits, right? So just like we talked about, we'll keep the, we'll go switch sides so they can see better. So go ahead and put it in here. So just like we talked about, that stepping here gives me a lot of influence, stepping this way makes me really open. If I know I'm open, right? Me standing in a position where I'm off center here naturally invites this. So I can just use this as a quick, right? Or maybe even in a situation, if I'm here and I'm neutral, maybe I take a half step back, make Raph think I'm gonna expose my hip with my position, and then instantly cut it off, right? Just as if we did, you know, against a righty, just as if we were like, oh yeah, bait the shoulder, easy counter, right? Same exact concept, but now we're just using our feet to do it instead. Another thing is, obviously when we're picking a stance, sword foot forward, bow foot forward, we're exposing one half of our hemisphere, or one half of our body at any given point in time. So if I'm standing sword foot forward, by me doing a pivot like so, not only did I make distance, but I'm also changing which half of my body is closest to my opponent. Yeah, so maybe if maybe Raph doesn't throw here, but me taking this step makes Raph really think, oh, that shoulder's about to be open. And that's when I can take that opportunity to step back through, right? Or inversely, right? I'm here, I got my shoulder closest to Raph. Raph thinks that something's about to happen, right? And I could use a lead switch to get that position back, right? Baiting, using which side of your body, or even something as simple as, you know, I'm sure everyone knows about this. You know, you have your leg here, someone's gonna swing at it. Nobody wants to get legs, so what do? You just take it out the way, right? Technically, that's a simple variation of a footwork fake or bait. Sorry. Anything to add to that? Awesome. Okay, training methods. So anyone wanting to get better at their footwork, oftentimes you hear about ladder drills. There's plenty of content on that around. There's one thing that I like to do. I'm gonna set it up real quick. Sorry. So I like to have 9 cones set up, each cone about 3 feet from each other in a square. I like to call this the A to Z drill. Your goal, footwork-wise, is to use all the variations of your footwork to trace out the alphabet. So something I might do, I'm going to start on this corner, get in my athletic stance like I'm fighting, and start tracing the letter A on the floor using the points as an outline to help me stay in reference. So, you know, I'm going to the top of the A. Right? Once I'm here, I have 2 options. I can stay a sword foot forward and do a pivot, right? Or I could potentially step through, lead switch, and I'm coming back shield foot forward. Then my goal is to get to the other corner. Maybe I come forward, do the side of the A, go back, right? Back to the corner. That was my A. Now I go to my B. I'm gonna come forward, sideways, right? Around, sweep, sideways. Here's my B. Our goal is to go A to Z. Feel free to do this drill. Super effective. It'll get you really tired really quick. All right? If you're low on cardio, you're gonna get it. Do you have anything ladder drill wise?
Ladder drill wise, I'm a big believer in ladder drills actually. There's some very basic alterations you can do on ladder drills for just going forward. There's one where you put one step, you get in them, and just progress forward. But you're gonna learn that, like, we keep talking about our stability, and there's other versions of it you can work on where you actually get real life representation of what it's like to get your legs apart and bring them back together, and the difficulty that you get stuck in those. So, like, do the ladder drills that are designed to go fast, but also do the ones that are designed to let you feel what instability or what true stability is and how it limits your movement. Because you're gonna find, again, this is fun, you're like, oh, I do this all the time in fighting, you're like, I can't move. When you have a drill that puts you through something that shows you how hard it is to move, you're gonna stop doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I guess I kind of glazed over it, but I didn't actually mention it. Something that's important is, as you might have heard me during foundations, shots have ranges, right? When I throw a shot, that shot has a designated range. What does that mean? So, when I have my arm outstretched straight from my shoulder, this is my maximum range, right? Now, if I'm doing a wrap on someone, the more of an angle I'm trying to generate, the less range I have. But if you notice, right here I'm making more angle, but the tip of my sword's getting closer towards me. A common example is a sky hook, right? Right here, this is a maximum angle, low range shot. So for example, yes, Raph can maybe change an angle and go sideways. However, just by changing the distance, he can block this shot because I don't have the range for it anymore, right? Very simple. Similarly, a flat wrap, especially if I'm trying to make it real tight towards an arm, right? This is a max range shot. I'm barely trying to get around this angle and connect with him. If he gets closer towards me, that's enough to change the angle. I'm not generating enough of an angle here. Okay, another example, money shot. So, So the money shot is a long range shot, right? That's still, or medium to long range shot. It really skirts on the edge. I'm trying to throw this shot as my opponent is closing. So really, I'll be here, my opponent takes a step, and my goal is to hit them as they're landing, right? They're closing most of the distance for me. Now, something that Telfair can do, assuming I don't time it properly, is change the angle, or excuse me, change the angle for sure, but change the distance. So now, if Telfair instead closes on me, just close straight on me.
Straight in.
Yeah. So I'm here. Yeah, for sure. Notice, even if I connect, what am I hitting? His leg. Right? The angle that I was going for, the tip of my sword that I needed to connect, isn't there anymore. So obviously we can use those while we're moving our feet. Now, let's talk about height disparity. Telfair here is how tall?
Too tall.
6'4".
Too tall. I like that answer. Damn good answer. How tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
6'4". Awesome. I am 5'11" on a good day. And today's not a good day. Right? So obviously we have a height disparity, but I'm sure some of y'all might be shorter. What are some strategies that we can be using to make our fight against Telfair a little easier?
Level change?
Level change? I mean, yeah. You could level change. That's once you're in a range to combat him, for sure. Level change is perfect, right? But your goal is to get there.
Yeah.
Ideally, his range is a little bit further. The length from his shoulder towards the tip of his arm is longer than his shoulder to the tip of his sword is longer than the distance from my shoulder to the tip of my sword. Yeah.
If you cheat up a half step
and then you can explode. You can take like an extra step forward, essentially, to close the distance faster than he's expecting you to.
Yeah, for sure. Double stepping here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna cheat using one half step here. Maybe he's not expecting it, and as he's hasn't moved yet because he thinks he's safe, taking another step. Right? We close a distance and a half measure versus just one distance, versus just taking one normal step. Another thing, like we talked about, faking, baiting our foot. That's another option. Or baiting an arm shot. The closest things towards our opponent is something that they're going to want to reach for, especially with his height. His goal is to hit it at a range where he can still manipulate the range and get out.
I have this saying for this actually, that like, you think about the rings around like a battleship, and the first thing that gets in range, they tend to fire at.
Yeah.
So like, I've got a threat range right here. This is my ring. As soon as something hits that ring, people tend to throw.
Yeah, for sure. Now, another opportunity that you have is while he's throwing the shot, ideally he's stepping, right? And our goal is to either force that shot to miss or close in with him. Right? This is another form of counter stepping. So just like we talked about here, we're going to use this again. So you just sit there. Now, if I were just to take a normal step at Telfair, this is maybe the closest I can get. Easy block, right? He also has plenty of opportunity to change distance and change angle again. Now, if Telfair instead wanted to do something to me first, he takes a step, and while his foot's off the ground, I step alongside with him. Right? Now, what notice? Before, we were at a range where I could barely connect with him. Now what? We're almost belly to belly, right? This is the easiest way to change distance from us and our opponent extremely fast. And this is a tool that we can use at a disadvantage when our opponent is taller or we want to get really close really fast. This is exactly how we do it. Any questions so far? No? I know application, this is going to be a lot of to work with. Cool. I guess we're doing a really good job. What was Glenn saying in the lefty class about the questions?
Oh, save them for the other class?
Something like that. He was like, oh yeah, he did the study.
Yeah.
Anyway. Awesome. So we're gonna do, let's see, we have probably about 15 minutes. So we're gonna do some scenario-based situations, and we're gonna have 2 instructors fight. So congratulations, you got promoted.
Exciting.
You're one of my elite employees. So go ahead and get a fight in. And I want us to start thinking about everything we covered during this class. Your goal is to stay static and maybe take no more than 1 step. Cool. You can do whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
We want to see the interesting
Here,
side.
I'm gonna trade you for my
Dude,
bag.
y'all are the same height at this point. Actually, wait a minute. I don't know about this.
Maybe I'll stay right here. I don't want to move.
All right. So before y'all start, from the top, what kind of tools do we have at our disposal to talk about?
Moving towards sword side.
Yeah.
Sideways.
Changing angle,
Exactly sideways.
distance, right? Changing angle at a given point in time. What are some times that we can do?
When they're taking a step.
When they're taking a step.
When they're
while
throwing
shots.
To bait out a shot.
To bait out a shot, right? And I want us to start thinking about these proactively and using Telfair as our mold, okay? Telfair needs a lot of our help, so we're here to help him.
Thank you.
We got you, Telfair. All right, so yeah, whenever you're ready, Leon, we might do 3 fights.
Good.
Feel free to take 2 steps now.
Done.
A little more than 2, but that's fine. 1 more. For sure. Awesome. So on that, what are some things that Telfair we should do different?
It went a lot better when Telfair went to the sword side.
Right? Yeah. Right. Even when we're talking about an active situation, Telfair's actually trying to fight and defend himself here. I'm obviously limiting him footwork wise, but 100%. Right? You see the action before he's getting smoked in the hip. 1 step towards the side, change the whole fight. The right side. Right?
The correct side.
The correct side, and also because he's right-handed, the right side. Right? Awesome. So, what are we gonna prescribe to him? Right? We're doctors of footwork right now. I'm elevating y'all to doctor. So, what are we prescribing him? What is he gonna do? Step,
Sideways.
To the right.
Sideways?
Right.
Okay, towards the right.
To the right or back into the right.
Okay. So you are now granted
Oh.
5 steps,
Heard.
and you are supposed to be moving right. Feel free to do that.
Got the wrist. First shot. Dead. Dead.
What can we tell about those steps towards the right?
Not big enough.
1, not big enough. Why weren't they working?
Because Raphael was changing the shots that they threw.
Yeah?
This is less like the footwork thing. The first shot that you threw, what was that? That seemed like a really weird. Stop doing cool stuff.
It's called The Bright Side. There is a YouTube video on it.
There's a
He'll
name.
do his own class after we're done with this one.
So grab my fight card.
You posted on the SKBC Discord.
So, a key detail, right? Obviously, Telfair was stepping towards the right, but what happened? He stepped towards the right and did what?
Stop.
Well, he stopped, but he rotated, right?
Yep.
He stepped sideways, and what did he do? He turned.
Reorient.
Right? He reoriented. I call this turning to face. I used to play some war games before, and if you have a model move, it's supposed to turn to face the opponent. However, in this specific matchup, that's not the right thing to do, because you just brought your hip closer. So if he's gonna take this step, he's just supposed to stay as if he's fighting this person in the ditch, right?
Are you still supposed to keep your board pointed towards them? Like, so
Yeah.
he's going sideways, but is his board changing angle, like as he gets further and further?
Well, let me see. So,
Great question.
fantastic question. That's a
Yeah.
line up.
So,
I
so
guess
the core idea here is that like this is a lefty-righty matchup,
Yeah.
right? So 80% of my target opportunity is on this side. So you're assuming that a lot of my shots are coming over there. And so by doing that lateral step without reorientation, you're putting the center of the board into where I was targeting.
Gotcha.
If you did that step and left the shield, or even just keep your body that way but pry the shield open, right? Then I'm still getting the angles that I want.
It's done nothing at that
Yep.
point, pretty much.
Does that make sense?
That's other losing
Alright.
1% of the board like that here.
Toby, congrats. You've been promoted. Do you have a gear?
I think that
I don't
brings
have
it
my
up
gear
a
with me now.
better
You're
for
lucky.
that
You got a
actually with
punch?
the footwork.
Cole,
There's a punch here.
just
Yeah.
my man. Oh, never mind.
there we go.
You're lucky.
So we'll
Warlord Toby from Get
It's a
Good
big
Buddies.
difference
Alright.
with the
Well, actually, no,
lefty-righty
you're
matchup.
staying. But feel free to use this if you want.
There's my punch over there too.
I gave him a punch.
Would you rather use that one?
Is it yours?
That's mine.
do
Go
whatever
for it.
Is that brand new Warlord Toby? Wow. From Get Good Mondays.
Since y'all using punches, try not to do too much. So, obviously, you can shoot your shield over exaggerated, but our goal is to be using our footwork to do it, not shoot our shield. Okay. So, for the most part,
Lock it.
I'm gonna steal one of your gloves. Those are your gloves?
Yeah, go for it.
Nothing too
I know how
fancy.
hard it is. You don't have to lock it, but keep it.
Pretty hard.
Bell Day.
Alright, so now we're doing ready on ready. Yay! This is what everyone's here normally for. This is the right way to do it.
Get the lefties out of here.
The lefty stuff was still really helpful.
Less handsome, but that's a inside joke.
Shoulder.
That's good. So, again, Telfair's our boy. Our poor boy is getting massacred. What can we do to save him?
All the shots from Toby that landed were like crossing body, sort of money, or just sword arm.
Yeah. Let me ask Telfair this. Telfair, were you feeling uncomfortable at all?
Yeah.
Why?
Don't know.
Were you too close?
Probably.
What can you do to get away?
Step back.
Sidestep.
To
Step
the
back.
diagonal.
Step back and to the right. Yeah, for sure, right? He doesn't have to stay in the fight. Just because Toby's stepping in to start the fight doesn't mean he has to agree. This is a mutual agreement that we're doing, right? The second they both step forward, now we're actually fighting. But until then, he can be patient, right? Awesome. Toby,
Let's do it.
No, that. Alright, that's good. So, there's a neat thing that happened in that last fight. Does anyone here recall? What happened?
Telfair stopped and let Toby put himself in a bad position.
Yes. Toby did what? Toby took.
Steps forward into his left, I think.
Yeah, but they were kind of wide. So
Yeah.
what happened? He brought himself closer and lowered his height, right? So what did Telfair do? He used that opportunity to throw a power board side shoulder. That's right, PG. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Right. So that was a great timed opportunity, right? That shot wasn't there without that step that his opponent did. He didn't even do all that much work for it, which is fantastic, right? We can kill them if they can kill themselves. It's fantastic. Now, Telfair. What is Telfair doing? Is there anything else he can be doing? He's taking a step towards the right. But what?
In this situation, should he be turning to face? Because there's
He can.
instead of moving into, a sword if you're fighting lefty, you're moving instead towards the shield, so you should be turning and rotating.
He can, right? Now, that's a great question. Thank you. So now, if we're here and we're fighting, and I take a step this way, right? Yes, for sure we can turn. That opportunity for a lefty on how to block a lefty hip scoop is identical for anything happening on this side. Nice to meet you. Come closer just so you're not on elevation. So if Toby here throws a money shot on me, sick, I'm getting blasted in the hip. How do we block a lefty hip scoop? We
Step
step
to the right.
to the right. So what happens? I step towards the right?
Yep.
Holy shit, it's not hitting anymore. Or maybe it's hitting my leg. And now what? Toby sacrificed all his height advantage and his opportunity to move his feet to get this angle. Can you see a sword? So then what can we do? So we use one free step to block a shot. Now we take another step. Smoke. Honestly, we don't even need to take that step if we don't want to. That shot's already there.
Yeah.
Right? Same concept still applies to. So I noticed there was an opportunity where Telfair did get hit with a sword side hit. And that's something he could have done to block it, right? The principle's still the same. The shot went to the same quadrant. Another thing is Telfair's doing great and maybe taking two steps to get here, but then he stops. Or maybe he resets back to the middle, right? He's doing so much work to get off center, off to the side, get an advantage, but he's losing it. He's giving it up himself. What can we be doing here?
Keep rolling.
Keep moving.
Press it, yeah. If we're at a casino right now, we're up. Right? They gotta earn some money. They gotta tell us that we're not winning first before we can stop. Right? We want to hit.
Let it ride.
I haven't seen 21 yet. Let's hit. All right. So what do we want to see? We want to see Telfair potentially blocking sword side hips, using a lateral step, right? Maintaining good distance control, dictating when he wants this fight to happen, and if he's gonna get an advantage angle-wise, press the advantage. Right? What do you think?
Simple. Yes.
Yes. I know, abstract, but effective. Good. Nice.
Keep taking his medicine.
Dead.
No, dead. Great. Good job, guys. Awesome. So, application-wise, he did a decent amount of it, right?
Hard to call.
Yeah, I know. That's all. Yes.
When Toby won, he did a better job of stepping right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was one opportunity where Telfair tried to go for a board side shoulder, I think, if I recall, and then he ended up jumping for it, right? Our goal is to stay on the floor as long as possible so that we can change direction again. If we're not on the floor, we can't change, especially if we're raising our height even more. Those low quadrant shots become that much easier, right? Congratulations to Warlord Telfair and Warlord Toby. So, I think we're going to wrap up the class there just because it looks like we're losing some light. Thank you very much for participating. I hope y'all can apply a lot that you've learned here. Jais is very kind enough here to have this YouTube video up, so I know we covered a lot of information, but feel free to look up Jais, what's it
I
called?
should post it on SKBC YouTube
Fantastic,
or
awesome.
SKBC Discord.
Perfect. So feel free to use this as a tool. It's going to be accessible to you 24/7 soon. So move laterally and slam. Thank you very much.